Welcome back to Z Visuals. My name is Zach and I'm a graphic designer. And if you can't tell by the very festive sweater, this is a Christmas episode. To start it off, I figured what better way than to look at the process of how I made my Home Alone 2 poster that I did for the 30th anniversary last year, which I believe, if I'm tracking time right, was 2022. And here's the poster. Hopefully it's right here right now. So here's the poster. Hopefully it's right here. And I want to share with you how I made this. If you compare this poster to my previous poster I shared, which was my Oppenheimer poster, that poster is a lot more illustrative. While this is kind of on the opposite spectrum, which is a lot more photo based. I mean, it is a photo composite poster. And so I want to share that process. And one of the things that I like to do with my photo composite posters, that's a mouthful, is I like to make them seem less digital. I think that digital gloss is yucky. It's just my opinion. And so I like to make things look and still have that handmade, the artist hand in there, just that, still have that analog feel to it. This poster is no exception. That is something that I did use. I think I touch on that. And if you want to hear more about that process, in case I don't go into it any further in the breakdown, please let me know, and I'd be more than happy to talk more to that and show all the details. Without a further ado, let's get on over there and see all the dirty secrets I do. Off to you, Zach, to the clip.
Here we are. So I have my working file open. We're basically starting with this file. As you see down here is pretty much, I'm not going to go into how I made that, but basically it's a simple composite of downloading these images from the internet and just compositing them together to really give it that printed CMYK halftone look to it. As you can see here, we're starting with a pulpy magazine. I elected to go with that because that technically maybe a Christmas catalog. Might have been printed on glossy paper, if I'm going to be specific about it or accurate about it. For the sake, I went with this kind of pulpy paper. So let's just roll with it. And forgive me here, these last layers I really didn't label. And for the most part, you'll see I do label my layers, but sometimes I don't. This is what we're starting with. So this is the process. So I'm going to kind of walk through here. So turning on these first two layers, as you can see, it's basically putting a distress kind of discoloration on the left side here, as well as these are basically brushed in. And then I make a mask of a torn paper on top of this because, again, this bottom piece is the exposed inner page is peeking through. What we're walking through here right now is the cover art of the catalog. We have the image of the Christmas tree, which is just a stock image I grabbed online. Seemed to fit my purpose. And first thing here is I'm doing a brightness and contrast, I believe. Oh no, sorry, exposure. An exposure adjustment layer on top of this. And basically, as you can see here, mask, I basically painted in my lights and darks using this exposure. Then I did a clipping mask on top of that, which doesn't make sense right now, but it will later. It's for the lights. I basically painted in the colored light onto the Christmas tree leaves, and then turn this on. We actually bring in the Christmas lights, which these themselves are pretty much composited in as well. Again, I use another exposure mask adjustment layer to paint in some more lights and darks, shadows, and then this layer just shows more of a glow, bringing up that colored luminance, and then some more just random. It's funny when you go back through your work and you kind of just turn on layers. This is really the secrets, I think, of working, is sometimes you just make layers that on their own make no sense, but together it makes sense in the end. And this is another example of a layer that makes no sense right now. It looks like random scribbles, but it will make sense later on. So the first thing is we got the lost little marquee Lost New York subtitle. I'm not really gonna dig deep into that. I'm pretty sure it's self-explanatory on how to make that. If you guys want me to come in the future and show how these pieces are made, these individual pieces, let me know. I'll be more than happy to do that. But for right now, we're just gonna keep it. This is a piece. And then I will show you how this next piece composited. So that shows you the compositing process of this next piece, this ornament, which is one of the bricks. So as you can see, it started with the ornament hook, then we put our brick, and then our text comes in, which is so far is just a two-layer composite there. So that pretty much finishes up our alone. I do have a clipping mask on that. That's to bring in the yellow and green light to cast onto the brick to help just actually seal it into the scene. And then we got a number 2 ornament popped in. Again, another clipping mask over that to let the green light go on to light the 2. Our next is our home brick. And then, as you may guess it, a clipping mask to help bring in the lights, the Christmas lights, having those reflected on the brick. Then next is our home ornament, our house ornament. Then we got our 2 turtle doves composited in. Then we, of course, some light, clipping mask, a little bit more extra details. Then we got the talk boy. And as you can see here, I masked in, basically I cut in or rotoscoped in the leaves here to make the talk boy seem like it's more nestled in there. And oh yeah, bring it over here. We got our I forget what to call those, but our plates here. I got our Harry, which again, those are pretty self-explanatory, I think, of how I made those. I basically just searched a certain texture and made them. Again, if you want to see a breakdown of these components, of these pieces, because you're unfamiliar, I am more than happy to do that. Let me know and I will do that in the future. As you can see, again, another clipping mask layer to have the lights shine on the actual object. Then we have our Kevin beanie pop in, some more light, clipping mask. And now we're getting into some crazy adjustment layers here. Our first one is our levels. As you can see, that basically is painting in, I think at the moment, darks. Yeah, darks and lights. An exposure layer. And again, all these, as you can see, I basically used the mask, the layer mask, to paint in and take away what I want. So again, I did another levels and then a hue saturation. And I think I mostly used that when it came to the shadows. One thing with shadows is things tend to be less saturated in the shadows, so that's pretty much what I did. Another layer, another levels. Pretty much that one, I did no painting. Not sure if I did, but I think that was just an overall levels adjustment. Color balance, kind of give it that warm, cozy feel. And then we have this group, turn that on, and that's composed of some, as you can see, so another layer that looks like it's some painting, and then two more levels and a color balance, which pretty much just kind of help finish it off. And then this layer is basically using a really neat tool, an action from Retro Supply Co. If you're not familiar with Retro Supply Co. and you're really into retro aesthetics, the analog look, I highly recommend checking them out. Retro Supply Co. And they have this really neat plugin, Photoshop plugin called Photo Toaster, which takes any image and basically does a really good job of making it look illustrated, a specific illustration look to it. Of course, I used it, but I kind of changed the settings on it to get a certain look I wanted. So basically, what I did here, my goal was to take this very heavy photo composite and just give it a slight illustrative touch, and it's almost undistinguishable here. But I promise you, it does make a difference. It brings brush strokes into it, so it's instead of just a clean digital image of the 2 here, or the bricks, or the talk boy or whatever, it brings in those brush strokes to it. It basically gives it a fake hand in there. But that's not to say that a few layers down, I failed to mention. But what I did is a lot of using the level layers, I used that as a way of brushing in, giving that brushed look, which one of these days I will have to show that process of what I do on that. That's something I developed myself. I don't know if anyone else uses that or does that, or if I'm the only one who uses a levels adjustment layer like that. But if you're interested in seeing that method to kind of bring in that hand painted look to a photo, let me know. if you're interested in seeing that. Some finishing touches here. We got the date up here in the top left. Threw in there. I threw on an overall grain layer. Now we're getting into this, like I said, this finishing touches. I distress on the edges here. Now we're really in the process of making it look like an actual printed Christmas catalog. As you can see here, I put this crease here, the distress on the edges here. I threw on a dark canvas layer here using a canvas brush. Brush that in through blending mode on the screen, 48% opacity, and that's what it does. I believe the point of this layer, you'll see basically it brings in the dark the shadows of a canvas grain. So all the shadows of a canvas, it basically does that. It gives it those canvas shadows. And forgive me if I'm not doing a good job of explaining that. Throw in our sticker here. Throw in my signature. This canvas layer is to bring in all the highlights and maybe a bit of a gloss effect to it. So now it's looking more printed and aged. You don't have that deep digital feel anymore. That's what I love about this layer. That's a huge step in it. It really just helps seal it and make it look printed and, like it's been around. Of course, you gotta dinge it up, give some more distress, put some dirt on it, another border just to kind of help fade those edges. Basically, I use a color lookup, and it's called Candlelight Cube right here on the top left. Candlelight Cube is the color lookup I used. And then finally, this last piece is the final thing. Again, I don't know if my computer is just lagging or if it actually rendered that last image, but this is what I do is I duplicate and flatten it into a single image, and then I take this into filter camera raw here, and I do various adjustments. I add more grain. If I want to do some more color correction, I do it there as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is how I made this.
Well, there it is. There's all my dirty little secrets on how I created my Home Alone 2 poster in all of its photo composite glory. Like I said, if you want to see more about the individual pieces, more details on certain things, certain aspects, please let me know and I'll think about it. I'll think about making a video. I'm not going to promise anything. But maybe in the Christmas spirit. Alright, thanks for watching Z Visuals TV, and I will see you next time on Z Visuals TV. Get out of here.